All right, welcome to SBL, where we'll be looking at the pre-scene for the 2025 March examination. We'll be doing this in two stages. Today's the first stage where I'll be taking the first read with you. So we'll be going through the pre-scene from scratch. The purpose is, as I had informed in my previous video, once we go through the whole pre-scene, we should be able to create a mind map. The purpose is so that we will be able to understand the background of the organization and the industry prior to going to the examination. The second stage, which will be done in later date, is where we create a SWOT based on our mind map. So just like in the past, the examiner has taken a niche industry, and this industry is on a charity. Good. So you can see the split screen here. So we'll have the SBL pre-scene for the 2025 March examination. Perfect. Cool. So let's go through the pre-scene. Introduction. Historic Places is a charity which operates in the country of Eardisia. It aims to preserve historic sites in Eardisia. So our organization's name is Historic Places, which will be referred to as HP. So it's in the country of Eardisia. The purpose is to preserve historical sites of the country. Now let's look at the sector. Now, Eardisia belongs to the sector of charity. Charities, charitable organizations, promote the welfare of society and the public interest. So here the examiner is giving you an introduction to what this industry contains. They carry out many different activities, including helping the sick and disabled, providing poverty relief and education, preserving history, and campaigning on issues affecting society. Charities raise funds through various methods, including donations by those who support their work and commercial activities. The charitable sector includes large national charities and smaller charities which operate on a single site. So here they have basically given an introduction on what is the scope of a charity. So charities typically is aimed at promoting welfare of society and public interest. Okay, that's what charity is all about. From a simple support of, let's say, sick people, orphanages, providing support for low income, providing education. From there, it ranges to preserving historical monuments. So it has a very large scope, and charities can be of many purposes, but all of the purpose of charity is more or less towards the public interest. This also includes large national charities and small charities which operate on a single site. So scale of operation includes both national and single site charities. Charities' legal position. Charity is a legal position. Charities in Eardisia are often set up as companies limited by guarantee. Okay, legal position. They are often set up as companies limited by guarantee. A company limited by guarantee does not have any shares or shareholders. So they are also describing you what this nature of company contains. So they don't have shares, no any shareholders. So no any shares, no shareholders. It is underwritten by guarantors who guarantee to pay a specified amount of money to help settle its debts only in the event of insolvency. So what does this actually, what do they actually do? So in case of insolvency, there are guarantors who will have a specific amount guaranteed in case of paying debts. Right. Surpluses are not distributed to the guarantors but invested in the charity to help promote its charitable activities. Charities activities are determined by the governing document. So the charity, the activities, what they do, are determined by their governing document as per the constitution. Many charities, because see, outside the case, organize different countries have their own legislation to ensure charities are properly run. For example, in the UK we have the charities commission. So those are things outside the case, you can ignore them. So that's why they have mentioned constitution. The constitution says, the act says, okay, yes, there should be a document which specifies the model of the charity. Many charities raise funds by means of surpluses from commercial activities. For example, running shops, raising funds. Surpluses of commercial activities, for example, like running shops. Commercial activities are carried out through subsidiary companies which charities wholly own. So commercial activities carried out via wholly owned subsidiaries. Charity regulation. Charities in Eardisia are regulated by the Charity Supervisory Board. Referred to as CSB here onwards. Established by Eardisia's central government. CSB aims to ensure that the general public can be confident that donations to charities will be used for proper charitable purposes. The CSB investigates allegations that charities are not acting in accordance with their charitable objectives, are behaving unethically, and are misusing funds or otherwise breaching regulations. So CSB investigates on allegations related to, okay, not acting in line with objectives set in the initial document, unethical behavior, misuse of funds, or any breaches of regulations. The content of charities accounts is governed by a statement of recommended practice. Okay. Accounts governed by statement of recommended practice, SORP, published by the Charity Supervisory Board, CSB. The CSB requires all charity accounts to be audited. CSB requires accounts to be audited as well. Large charities, charities whose annual income exceeds $10 million, need to report on internal control and risk management systems, with the reports being reviewed by the charity's external auditors. Large charities, how do you find large charities? Their annual income exceeds $10 million. Need to report on internal controls and risk management systems. It's also reviewed by the external auditors. Okay. Additional requirement: charities and commercial subsidiaries wholly owned by charities are not subject to taxation. Charities and wholly owned subsidiaries, we discussed, charities obtain funds mainly through their wholly owned subsidiaries, not taxed. Heritage subsector. Many charities in Eardisia exist for the purpose of preserving the country's heritage at urban and rural sites. Heritage means things of historical or cultural value which are worthy of preservation. Okay. Heritage refers to things of historical or cultural value, worth of preserving. So many charities' purpose is to preserve heritage. Charities in the heritage subsector conserve and maintain historical sites, including buildings and museums and objects kept at those sites. They generally allow public admission to the sites which they maintain. So they preserve these sites and generally allow public only to visit. Heritage charities aim to bring history to life for visitors. They seek to encourage public appreciation of and participation in heritage. This includes encourage members of the public to visit sites and work for the charities as unpaid volunteers. Heritage charities are also concerned with education. They host visits from groups of school children and students at their sites. So they expect public encouragement and appreciation. They expect public to visit sites and work for charities as unpaid volunteers. Keep in mind, unpaid volunteers. Because charities are non-profit, so they expect volunteers to work without payments. Heritage charities are also concerned with education. They host visits from groups of school children and students at their site. Some establish formal links with schools and universities. A number of charities provide training in conservation of the facilities. They also expect on educating. So for this, they host visits from schools and universities, establish formal links, and provide training in conservation. The two largest heritage charities in Eardisia are historic places, which mainly looks after sites over 300 years old, and living the past, which mainly cares for sites which are less than 300 years old. Two largest heritage charities in Eardisia. One is us, which is HP, historic places. They mainly look after sites over 300 years. Next is living the past, LTP, mainly sites below 300 years. Heritage charities significant stakeholders. Stakeholders of heritage charities. We have trustees. So now they have given a description of how trustees are a significant stakeholder. Trustees are individuals who oversee a charity's activities. They are responsible for ensuring that it acts in accordance with its charitable objectives and constitution and complies with regulation. Trustees should ensure that the charity's control and risk management systems are effective and that the charity is managed with honesty and integrity. They develop the charity's strategic direction in conjunction with executive management. Trustees are accountable for the charity's activities to the charity's supporters, the charity supervisory board, and the general public. Trustees are not paid for their time and receive no employment benefits. Right? So they are individuals who oversee activities of the charity. They are unpaid and receive no employment benefits. So it's typically people volunteer. So their task: ensure complying with regulations, objectives, and even constitution. Another task: ensure effective internal control and risk management systems. So they are accountable to the charity supporters, charity supervisory board, and the general public. Next is executive management, another stakeholder. Executive managers are employees responsible for day-to-day operations. They normally meet regularly as an executive board of committee. Other paid employees. Paid employees include head office administration staff and staff working full or part-time at the sites. Then we have volunteers who carry out unpaid work at a charity site in their spare time. They have no contractual obligation to keep volunteering. They are unpaid and they have no contractual obligation. Next we have donors. Donors give monies to charities without expecting anything in return. Donors may give on a one-off or regular basis. Members pay an annual fee or one-off fee for life membership. So they have one-off fee or life membership or annual fee, which gives them certain privileges on what the charity does. So they get certain privileges. The most important privileges which membership gives them are free admission to sites operated by the charity and voting at the charity's annual general meeting. Main privileges: free admission to sites and voting in the annual general meeting, including electing trustees. Electing trustees. Members do not own the charity and do not have responsibility of its debts. Keep this in mind. They don't own the charity, so no responsibility of its debts. Non-member visitors. Non-members pay an admission fee to have access to the sites. An admission fee to access the site. Guarantors. Guarantors guarantee a specified amount to help settle a charity's debts if the charity becomes insolvent, but are generally not otherwise involved with that charity's activities. Normally not involved unless charity is insolvent. They will contribute to pay off debt. We have discussed this earlier as well. Charity Supervisory Board. The CSB acts on behalf of Eardisia's government in overseeing charities' activities. Oversee activities on behalf of the government. Media. Stories in the media can illustrate the good work charities are doing. However, media coverage can also be a source of bad publicity. For example, stories about charities wasting money. Both good and bad publicity. Good document. Heritage charities income. So this is still about the industry. Charities raise money in different ways. One is donations. We have discussed. Charities obtain donations in various ways, contacting possible donors through post, email, or text message, or giving visitors the chance to donate when they visit the historical sites. Charities encourage donations by advertising, including adverts on television or on social media. Most charities have websites which allow donors to donate on them. Charities retain contact details of previous donors and focus marketing campaigns on obtaining further donations from them. There are several sources. Contacting donors directly. It can be post, it can be email, it can be text. They also contact previous donors for further donations. On top of that, they collect donations on site from visitors. They encourage charities by adverts on TV or social media. This is where they reach out to the public, okay, to TV or social media, asking for donations. Most charities have websites that facilitate donation. Okay. Membership, we had discussed earlier, annual or life membership fee. Admission fees charged to non-members who visit charities. Charged to non-members for visiting. Commercial activities. Commercial activities. Commercial income can come from various sources. We discussed one of the main sources through wholly owned subsidiaries. Most sites have catering facilities, cafes or restaurants at the site. Okay. Most sites have cafes and restaurants. Okay. Similar catering facilities may only provide snacks and drinks. Large facilities will offer full meals. Snacks and drinks, and larger facilities can even offer full meals. Charities may open some of their sites for hospitality events, such as corporate events or weddings. Some sites for hospitality events, like weddings, corporate events, etc. Most sites also have shops. Some smaller shops may just sell guidebooks or other items connected to the site. For example, books about the historical period when the site was in use. Larger shops sell a greater variety of products, such as greeting cards, toys, household items, clothing, and bags. Some of the items may be branded with the charity's logo. Most sites have shops, both small and large. Putting info and guidebooks and gifts. Small number of charities in Eardisia also operate shops which are not at their sites, but which are located in shopping areas. These shops sell the same items which are sold at the charity site. Some charities also they'll just shop products online. Small number of charities open shops off site but sell the usual products. Some operate, some sell online as well. Heritage charities expenditure. Heritage charities expenditure. Charities incur the following main categories of expenses. First one, site operating costs. These are day-to-day running expenses, including the wages of employees who work at the sites. Site maintenance and conservation costs. Sites require varying amounts of maintenance depending on their age and condition. Some maintenance tasks takes place regularly throughout each year and may be undertaken by the charity's employees or outside contractors. Sometimes major one-off projects are undertaken by outside contractors. Charities also incur costs conserving historical objects at their sites. These objects often require complex treatment carried out by specialists. Finally, administration costs. So when it comes site maintenance, require varying amounts. That is administration costs. These include costs of fundraising and marketing the charity's activities. Also the cost of administrating membership. They also include the salary costs of the charity's executive management and other head office administration staff. Charities can suffer bad publicity and attract less support if administration costs are believed to be too high. This includes fundraising, and marketing, administering membership, salary of executive management, and other staff. Risk. If costs believed to be too high can attract negative publicity. Heritage charities challenges. The principal challenge which charities face is the variety of factors which can cause deterioration in the sites and objects which they are trying to preserve. Major risk: factors causing deterioration in sites and objects. These include the passage of time and natural conditions such as high humidity. Passage of time and humidity. Etc. There are many reasons. Pollution and violent weather conditions caused by climate change can accelerate deterioration or result in significant damage. Pollution and violent weather condition can worsen the damage. Wear and tear from having a large number of visitors can also affect sites. Large charities are also dependent on recruiting sufficient volunteers to ensure there are enough staff at each site. Volunteers are unpaid, thus saving charities salary costs, but their hours and attendance may not be regular and they may decide to stop volunteering suddenly. Costs. On top of that, risk is irregular work hours and attendance may stop volunteering too. Heritage charities face the challenge that non-heritage charities are also seeking donations. Potential donors are likely to receive communication from many charities. Charities which are in the news at particular times raise considerable sums of money, but this may mean that donors give less to other charities which they normally support. Okay. Competing for donations with non-heritage charities. At present, there is a recession in Eardisia. And as a result, many charities have seen a fall in donations. Heritage charities key performance indicators. Still, this is about the industry. Financial indicators, we have income, expenses. Income includes income from membership fees, donations, site admissions, income from commercial activities, income generated per visitor from shops and catering activities. Expenses, site operating costs, maintenance and conservation, administration expense, employee costs. Non-financial indicators, commitment, number of members, donors, volunteers, visitors to sites, education and development, number of education visits to sites, training days for staff and volunteers, trainees employed. Conservation, preservation, number of hours spent on conservation, objects worked on, maintenance projects completed. Satisfaction feedback from members and visitors, feedback from employees and volunteers, percentage of annual members renewing. Environment, resource consumption, percentage of energy obtained from renewable resources, waste and recycling rates and emissions. So when looking at companies or charities effectiveness, we can basically use these KPIs. Includes commitment, number, environment, I just copied a draft of this. You can refer to the pre-scene later when preparing the SWOT. Now comes historic places, the background. Finally, company, that is HP, background. Now don't confuse heritage places and heritage charities and historic places. HCHP are two different things. Heritage charities, what type of charity they are? HP, historic place, is the company name, charity's name. HP operates in the heritage charity sector and was founded 2 years ago, 120 years ago. Operates in heritage charity sector. History, founded 120 years old. HP is a large charity which looks after around 350 sites over 300 years old. 350 sites of over 300 years old. Many of the sites are castles or museums. It does not look after any sites with religious connections. Many are castles and museums. Doesn't look after sites with religious connection. HP is a company limited by guarantee. HP senior management and most administration staff are based at head office in Eardisia's capital city. Most admin staff and senior management are in the head office in capital city of Eardisia. HP's commercial activities are undertaken by subsidiary which HP wholly owns. Okay, one subsidiary. HP's commercial activities by a subsidiary, by a fully owned subsidiary. Mission and values. HP's mission is that it permanently protects and preserves sites entrusted to it and promotes interest in access to them. Very straightforward mission. Not permanently protect all sites, permanently protect sites entrusted to them. The values which HP promotes are historical truth, accessibility, enjoyment, involvement, transparency, inclusivity, diversity, and social and environmental responsibility. And stewardship. Many values given. So the purpose of these values is, guys, later on when you observe the strategies implemented by HP, it must ensure it's in line with the values. Okay. For example, historical truth, social and environmental responsibility, so the actions should not contradict these values. On top of that, all of the actions are towards achieving the mission. Permanently protect and preserve sites entrusted to it and promotes interest in and access to them. So they are also trying to promote access to these sites. So in the future, if someone proposes that the site should, to protect the site, we have to close it down and not provide access, now there's a problem there. So next is governance. HP has a two-tier governance structure. With a board of trustees and board of executive directors. First tier we have board of trustees. Second we have board of executive directors. The board of trustees is responsible for overall control and management of HP and for developing the strategies in consultation with the board of executive directors. Board of trustees, overall control and management of the company. And develop strategies in consultation with the other board, the below. The Board of Trustees has audit, nomination, and remuneration committees. This board has audit, nomination, and remuneration committees. The Board of Trustees has 9 members. The Board of Trustees has 9 members. Okay. Let me just put this in a manner it's easy to read later on. Nine members. The chair is appointed by the trustee and does not have fixed term of office. HP members do not vote on the appointment of the chair. 9 members includes chair appointed by trustees and no fixed term of service. HME members do not vote on this. Next is nominated trustees. 5 trustees are nominated by HP's nomination committee. Nomination committee. The appointment is subject to confirmation vote by HP members. Subject to confirmation vote by HP's members. If they are confirmed in office by the vote, then they serve for 3 years and then they seek reappointment. 3 years and then seek reappointment. Next we have member elected trustees. Member elected trustees. 3 trustees are elected. By HP's members at charity's annual general meeting. At the annual general meeting. Trustees elected by the members also serve for 3 years and can seek re-election. They also serve for 3 years and then seek re-election. Since they elected. The Board of Trustees is supported by the Board of Executive Directors. Which is the Executive Board. The executive directors are appointed by Board of Trustees. On the advice of the nomination committee. As you are aware, nomination committee typically nominates both types of directors, executive and non-executive. So here we have executive directors and trustees. HP's members do not vote on the appointment of executive directors. The executive board is responsible for the day-to-day management of the operations. They are responsible for day-to-day management of operations. Of HP. The executive board is headed by the chief executive officer. The remuneration of executive board members, including the CEO, is determined by remuneration committee. That's normal. If you look at the executive board structure, we have the CEO. Under the CEO, we have the operations director, finance director, marketing director, HR director, and IT director. A total of 6 executive directors. So we have the board of conduct. HP has a code of conduct which trustees, executive directors, other paid employees, and volunteers are expected to follow. The code includes 4 principles relating to professional behavior, commitment, professional behavior. You hope you can recall from the code of ethics. Professional behavior is ensuring that our behavior does not violate the law and does not discredit our profession. So professional behavior, commitment, adherence to decisions made by the boards, confidentiality, conflicts of interest, and bribery. So it relates to areas on these. Acquisition of sites. HP acquires buildings and other sites as gifts from previous owners or by purchasing them. HP acquires buildings and other sites as gifts from previous owners. Or by purchasing them using HP's surplus funds. HP will only acquire sites which are of national importance. Acquiring ones that are only of national importance. We discussed heritage is all about sites and buildings that are of importance. So the acquisition is also following a similar criteria. Only of national importance and are under threat of destruction. And are under threat of destruction or deterioration over time. Even if those are important, they will not purchase every single important ones. Obviously, there can be many bottlenecks. However, they prioritize those that have a risk of being destroyed or deteriorating. Operational activities. Every HP site is open to members and other visitors. site open to, we have discussed this, but let's, no problem, let's note this down. Open to members and even outsiders. From outsiders, non-members, they charge a fee, admission fee. An admission charge is payable by non-members to access the sites. Admission charge on non-members. The amount charged varies between sites depending on what can be seen at the sites. How often sites are open also varies. Sites must sometimes be closed for a period of maintenance, and opening times can also depend on staffing levels. Sites require maintenance, so we are closed at this time, and opening times depend on staffing levels. So this is a bit problematic. Opening time is not regular because they have said it's dependent on staffing levels. HP aims to enhance the experience of visitors to its sites by providing guides to give tours and answer questions about the sites, on-site information, and exhibitions about aspects of the site's history. Yes, the aim is to improve popularity of this site. So providing such education is of help. It also aims to stimulate interest by, for example, encouraging children to spot features at a site or objects kept there. HP aims to enhance experience, visit experience. For this, they provide guides to give tours, on-site information, exhibition on site history, and activities to stimulate interest. For example, for kids, by spot features, etc. HP's education objective is focused on hosting visits of groups or school children and explaining to them the significance of what they are visiting. Sites also offer special events, including performances about the site's history aimed at children and families. This also includes special events, including performances on site history aimed at kids and families. Right. Every site has a shop. The size of the shop determines what is stocked there. Every site also has catering facilities where visitors can sit down and eat. Sites have a shop. Sites have catering facilities. Smaller sites only provide snacks and drinks. Smaller sites, snacks and drinks, we have discussed this also. Larger sites provides full meals. We have discussed this information when it comes to industry information. So our company HP also provides similar services as per the industry. HP's best known sites include Mallock, Dogdean, Birmingham, Stillwater, and Thruworth. HP's best known sites includes Mallock, Dogdean, Birmingham, Stillwater, and true. Stakeholders okay. Details about key stakeholders. So members, HP has around 5 million members, approximate 5 million members. HP offers annual memberships only. Benefits of membership include free admission to sites and regular newsletter and emails. Free site admission and regular newsletters and emails. Members have the right to attend HP's annual general meeting. Members have right to attend annual general meeting. But earlier we saw several instances where HP's members cannot vote when it comes to certain elections. They can vote on the appointment of trustees, receive HP's annual report and financial statements, and approve the appointment of the auditors. Right? They can vote on trustees' appointments, receive annual report, and approve appointment of auditors. They can also submit resolutions which are not binding on trustees but which the trustees must take into consideration. Can submit resolutions that don't bind trustees but which trustees must consider. Next is employees. HP has around 4,000, approx 4,000 full and part-time employees, including staff who work for the wholly owned commercial subsidiary. This includes subsidiary staff. They work at HP's head office and sites. Some have worked for HP for a long time. Generally, HP pays average salaries for jobs across the charity sector. Generally, average salary. The rates are of average salary rates, which are lower than would be paid for equivalent jobs in a commercial organization, which are typically lower than equivalent commercial organizations. Many employees are prepared to accept lower salaries than they would obtain outside the charity sector because of the commitment to HP's mission. Many employees are willing to work with lower salary due to their commitment to HP's mission. Next is volunteers. HP has around 20,000 volunteers, approximately 20,000 volunteers. Remember, volunteers are unpaid staff, but their work is irregular, who play a very significant role in its operations. Predominantly, volunteers act as guides. They act as guides. They work in catering facilities and shops. And or even help maintain sites. Suppliers and contractors. The choice of suppliers and the inventory policy of the catering facilities and shops is determined centrally by HP's procurement function. Determined centrally by HP's procurement function. HP uses external contractors for regular site maintenance and major projects. External contractors used. Contractors for large single projects are employed on a one-off basis. Contractors for large single projects are employed on a one-off basis. Okay. IT systems. So those are the key stakeholders. IT systems. HP's information systems are adequate for its administration needs. Adequate for administration needs. And fully compliant with data protection regulations. HP's computerized information systems cover major operational functions. They have computerized the information systems. They cover major operational functions. So most of the operational functions is done using computers. HP has a website which publicizes its activities and allows donations to be made and members to join. The website is used to publicizing activities, allow donations to be made, and also allows members to join. There are separate web pages for each of HP's sites, including details about the site such as its history, maps, facilities, and information and news. Other info is also shared in the website, including history, maps, news, and facilities. Risks. Risks. HP maintains a risk register. Very good. HP maintains a risk register. So you know, risk register is a record of all risks the company has identified and the procedures they have taken in relation to those risks. Maintains a risk register at head office, covering significant charity-wide risks. Covers significant charity-wide risks, including such as threats to reputation. So these are possible risk areas. Bad publicity about HP can lead to members not being willing to renew the membership, donors not being willing to donate, and volunteers no longer being willing to work for HP. They have given the significance of this particular aspect of risk. Other threats to income. So by giving this detail about risk register, the examiner also reveals you areas, risk factors that can pose a threat to the organization. So ensure that in the future, in the exhibits, in the final examination, if you encounter risk factors related to these areas, that means they are in urgent need of being addressed. Other threats to income. The recession in Eardisia may limit donors' willingness to donate to HP. Visiting HP's websites is one of very many leisure activities available to individuals and families, and the risk is that visits will become less popular, reducing income from admissions and commercial activities. This includes recession in the country, And many um, how can I say it? Many many who visit websites. Website exposure may cause possible reduction in physical visits. Next one is loss of employees, okay, and volunteers. We identified possible reasons. Employees loss, those who are concerned about the pay rate. And when it comes to volunteers, we discussed they're very irregular because they are unpaid. So let's see, have they added any other information? If employees and volunteers leave and cannot be easily replaced, then the experience offered to visitors to sites may be affected and the sites may be open less frequently. Some conservation work requires specialist staff, and loss of these staff members may affect HP's ability to carry out work on sites of historic objects. This is pretty serious. So, affect opening time, frequencies. Okay, so opening frequencies, loss of specialists may affect site maintenance and even the historic objects. Next, insufficient financial resources. Yes, even though companies have their own wholly owned subsidiaries to earn revenue, will that be sufficient? If income is less than expected or needed, HP may not have the financial resources to carry out all necessary conservation. Poor performance by suppliers and contractors. That is also a possible risk. Poor quality of goods provided by suppliers can reduce visitor satisfaction. Poor performance by contractors can mean that HP does not obtain value for money and may also jeopardize the conservation of buildings. Health and safety. These can affect people working at and visiting the sites. Sites have potential hazards, including slippery surfaces and steep staircases. Extreme weather may also create hazardous conditions at some sites. So these are unavoidable situations, macro-environmental situations. But when it comes to things like slippery surfaces, that those can be addressed, but extreme weather, those are macro situations. Climate and weather, again, poor weather can affect visitor numbers at sites where visitors are wholly or mostly outdoors. Extreme weather such as excessive heat, high winds or rain can damage sites. Cybersecurity. HP's computer systems face the risks of disruption, jeopardizing its administration and the services which it provides. We discussed earlier, most of its operations are computerized, meaning it's all on the internet, all on computers. So cyber risks obviously is possible risk. Leakage of data held about members and donors could result in legal action. Loss of reputation and unwillingness of members and donors to provide their personal details. As you are aware, under Data Protection Act, if hackers access donors' data, members' data, that could cause massive penalties for HP. Right. Now, guys, in here they have mentioned key risk factors, but the probability of this risk and the quantified impact is not provided. We know it's risky, we know these are important, but by how much what is the probability of these risks happening is not provided. So possibly they can be given in the extracts if there's a related task. Next we have website extracts. The extract covers key actions which HP takes. So website extract is a commonly given information in the pre-scene, but here they have not shown the whole web page. They have just shown the key info. The extract covers key actions which HP takes. Inspire, we want to inspire everyone who visits us in imaginative and authentic ways. So authenticity means innovation, obviously. We aim to stimulate our visitors' minds and provoke their emotions. They have given some of the activities that they do, but to what extent is this realized? Oh, that's something we have to consider. Access to our country's history enriches everyone's lives. We want our visitors to have the privilege of standing on the spot where history happened and to live our country's story. That's more straightforward. And what they actually do. Engage and entertain. We want everyone who visits us to love the time they spend with us. That's why they have been incorporating dramas and mind activities. We engage our visitors by bringing the fascinating true stories of our site to life. They have been doing this. We use creativity and imagination to delight and entertain our visitors. Involve millions share our belief that history is important for everyone, and we want to provide opportunities for them to engage with us. That's why they have been doing a lot of education with school children, university children, and they have a lot of tours done for education. We rely on the generous support of members, donors, and volunteers, and we want to build our relationships with them. Conserve, we protect sites and objects which urgently need our care. Looking after them for the benefit of present and future generations is central to everything which we do. We aim to preserve and develop our collections, increasing our understanding through expert research. Yeah. And they have specifically mentioned their main focus is on obtaining sites either through gifts or purchase that are more prone to destruction or deterioration. That's also in line with this. Sustain, we protect the future of our sites by being part of the worldwide fight against climate change. We limit our impact by using greener energy, minimizing waste, and increasing our use of recycled resources. Our performance is measured against increasing rigorous sustainability targets. And finally, we have, so website extracts will refer to the pre-scene. And finally, we have financial and non-financial information. We can see from 2020 to 23, income in millions has grown from approximately, let's say, 735 to around 800. You can take the annual average growth rate. Split of income in 2023, the recent split, membership fees is the greatest contributor. From on top of that, we have donations, admissions, shop and catering. Each of them equal and above 100 million per annum. Operating expenses have also increased proportionally from around, I would say, around 620 in 2022 to around 750 in 2003. Split of operating expenses in 2003, site operating expenses have increased. It's the largest cost factor. Site maintenance and conservation, and then administration. Now, finally, they have given us number of visits. Members and non-members visits have increased, which is great news, because increased number of visits means, okay, we have been increased, our popularity has been increased. That is one of the indicators, KPIs. And number of members have also increased from around 4.8 million to around 5.15 million. right? So we can also see number of members have increased. On top of that, total number of visits have also increased. So based on very reasonable estimates, we can see yes, most of them could be due to the added number of members, but also non-member visits have also increased to some extent. When here you obviously look, income has increased as well as operating expenses have increased. It's better to identify what's the change in operating income. At the end of the day, even though we are a non-profit organizations, we need money to run our business. So it's better to have an understanding of the operating cash flows. Right, with this comes the end of the pre-scene. So guys, let's have a quick look at our notes. So if you look at the notes, we have prepared this document by reading the whole pre-scene. So here you should be able to create a mind map while going through this. For example, our company's historic place, HP, in the country of Eardisia. Purpose is to preserve historical sites of the country. And it belongs to the industry of charity, which is typically on promoting society and public interest. There are different types of charities, some for the whole country, national, and some are single site. And legal position, we are a company limited by guarantee. We have discussed what that actually means. And we also discussed that there is constitutional impact on charity activities. When it comes to raising funds, charities have there are a couple of main funds. One is they themselves will have their own commercial activity which will provide funds, and these commercial activities are carried out via wholly owned subsidiaries. Why do they ensure that these commercial activities are run through wholly owned subsidiaries? Because we discuss later that the government has zero taxes on charities and wholly owned subsidiaries, not partly owned subsidiaries. On top of that, we also later discussed that okay, donations are also part of their main revenue. Coming back, charity regulation. Yes, there's a regulation in Eardisia, which is the charity supervisory board. The CSB investigates on allegations raised on activities not in accordance with the objectives stated at the initiation, on any unethical behavior, misuse of funds, and any breach of regulations. Accounts must be prepared and also audited. And large charities need to report on internal control and risk management. So large charities refers to charities with an annual income of over $10 million. Finally, we discussed that okay, our annual income is actually it's in the 800s. So we are also a large charity. And later we also identified that HP is one of the 2 largest charities in the country. If you look at the heritage subsector, so we discussed charity sector has a large amount of purposes, and our sector is on heritage preservation. Heritage refers to things of things of historical or cultural value worth of preserving. Many charities' purpose is to preserve heritage, preserving these sites, and also they generally allow public to visit. They expect public encouragement and appreciation of heritages, expect public to visit these sites and work for charities as unpaid volunteers. They expect to educate, which is why they host visits from schools and universities, establish formal links, and even provide training on conserving such heritage sites. There are 2 largest heritage charities in Eardisia. One is us, HP, which is basically on preserving sites mainly over 300 years old, and living the past, LTP, which is looking to the other segment. They preserve sites below 300 years old. Stakeholders, we discussed trustees, what they do, executive management, other paid employees, volunteers, donors, members, non-members, guarantors, CSB, and media. We discussed each of their features. So you clearly have an understanding of what trustees are, what they do, what members are, what they do. Clearly have a differentiation between those 2 parties. Heritage charities income, on top of their commercial activities, they also get donations. They also earn from annual membership. The industry will have annual membership or life membership, but later on we discussed that our company HP only has annual membership, but the industry, they have both ways. admission fee for non-members for visiting. That admission fee is a one-off fee for that particular site visit. And finally, commercial activities. Expenses of typical heritage charities include site operating costs, site maintenance and conservation costs, and administration costs. As properly stated, we also identified that the split of our business, HP, is operating expense, site operating, site maintenance, and administration. Heritage charities challenges. We discuss a couple of major risks. Factors causing deterioration in sites and the objects. This can include factors like passage of time, high humidity, and pollution and violent weather condition can worsen damage, wear and tear from large amount of visitors. Those are risk factors. And there are other challenges, that is large charities depends on recruiting volunteers. We saw in our data we have around 20,000 approximate volunteers. So this saves costs, but there's a risk because they are unpaid, so their work hours are irregular, their attendance can be irregular, and some of them may stop volunteering. So because of this irregularity, that itself is a risk. And another risk is where charities compete with other charities to collect donations. So these heritage charities might compete with non-heritage charities. So, and finally, due to recession in the country, many charities donations had fallen because the country economy is not doing well. KPIs of heritage charities, there are financial indicators on income and expense and non-financial indicators. Finally, we looked at the company information, the background of HP, which was founded 120 years ago. It operates in the heritage charity sector, and their main focus is on preserving sites over 300 years old, and they have over 350 such sites. Many of them are castles and museums, and they ignore preserving religious connections because that's not part of their focus. Most admin staff and senior management are in the head office in the capital city of the country, and HP's commercial activities are done by a fully owned subsidiary. We discussed the reason for that as the tax saving, the tax exemption. Mission and values we had discussed. So ensure that all decisions of HP is in line with the company values and towards achieving the mission. So any such incompatibility means that decision that they are taking is problematic. Governance, they have a two-tier governance structure. One tier is on board of trustees, next is on board of executive directors. We had looked at what they are constituting with and what their responsibilities are. Code of conduct, how they acquire sites, either purchase or gifts, and how do they prioritize, how do they filter out the sites, only those of national importance and are under threat of destruction or deterioration. And we also looked at a couple of operating activities and HP's best known sites out of 350 sites. The names given so far it's not helpful, but possibly there can be an exhibit providing more details on these sites. At that point of time, make sure you focus on these best known sites. Key stakeholders, members approximately 5 million. We discussed there that HP only adopts annual membership. There's no life membership. The benefits given, the rights given for members, employees, 4,000 full and part-time employees. They get a salary lower than equivalent commercial organizations, but still many employees are willing to work for this lower rate. One of the main reasons is because they are committed to HP's mission. Volunteers, approximately 20,000 volunteers, very significant. And they work in all sorts of operation, including guides, catering facilities, shops, and even maintaining sites. Suppliers and contractors are determined centrally by HP's procurement function, but later on we discuss on the risk register that there's a risk of suppliers and contractors not providing optimal quality services, which can affect the company's reputation as well as satisfaction of the tourists. IT systems, areas on the risk register, and finally website extracts. That sounded reasonably good, and we have to evaluate the financial and non-financial information. For that, I would always recommend you, when it comes to financial information, try to obtain the annual average growth in income and annual average growth in expenses and compare the rough figure when it comes to operating cash flows, income minus operating expenses. So with this information, we can now go to second stage on another day. So stage one's done. As you saw me, I just read through the whole pre-scene, noted down the information. While I'm reading through the information, now I am able to create a proper mind map on the industry, on the company, and all important information given. Once you go through this note once, twice, thrice, you will be able to have a clear understanding of the company and the industry background. Because once you go to the examination, once the examiner gives you the exhibits, when you read through the exhibits and do the tasks, any relevant information in the present should pop up in your mind. Now to further identify the key factors, we have second stage. So on stage number 2, we will be doing a SWOT analysis to identify the main factors in the internal and external environment, the strength and weakness of HP in the internal environment, as well as the opportunities and threats that are provided in the external environment. So that will be done on our next day. Until then, I hope that you had gained from today's session to understand, to have an initial understanding on the information given in the pre-scene. All the best. Yes, Abdul. This obviously will be shared. Give me a day. This will be shared in the group probably tomorrow. Right. So that's it for the day. If you have any queries, you can always contact through our contact points. I'll help you out.